Teacher talking sports, what it does, what it do, how we live. And there's just 3 days left in the MLB regular season. So I thought it would be a good time to do my 2022 MLB all mostly went undrafted fantasy baseball team. I did this during the mid-season, the halfway point, and we'll do it now at the end. So for this, in order to be eligible, the player's average draft position must have been over 300. Why 300? 300 players are selected in a 25-round, 12-person league. How did I figure out their average draft position? Well, I used a website called fantasypros.com in which it averaged each player's average draft position by ESPN, CBS, Yahoo, and a few other leagues, and gave you a average draft position when combining the 6 different websites they use. So if it was higher than 300, the player was eligible. For this, I will be naming 1 catcher, 1 first baseman, 1 second baseman, 1 shortstop, 1 third baseman, 3 outfielders, 5 starting pitchers, and 1 relief pitcher. I did this, as I mentioned, during the midseason, and only 5 of the 14 stayed the same. So let's get into it. Starting with catcher, we got Cal Raleigh of the Seattle Mariners. Did Salvador Perez lead all catchers and homers? No. Did JT Realmuto? No. It was Cal Raleigh, who has 26 homers. Yes, his batting average is just 208, but the catcher position has a boatload of players who are batting under the Mendoza line. First base, we have Christian Walker of the Arizona Diamondbacks. Definitely a career season. Did hit 29 homers in 2019, but just 17 combined the next 2 years. This season, 36 homers, 93 RBIs, 83 runs. Again, not a very high average of 238, but his power numbers definitely made him fantasy relevant. At second base, Andres Gimenez of the Cleveland Guardians. What a season it has been for Gimenez, who has been somewhat of a disappointment in 2021. This season, batting over 300 at 302, 17 homers, 19 stolen bases, 65 runs, 68 RBIs, as the Guardians are the AL Central champions. Shortstop was the hardest to pick. There was no clear candidates. I'm going Nico Horner of the Chicago Cubs. Batted a solid 282, had just 3 career homers entering the season, hit 9 so far this season with 3 days left, 19 stolen bases, giving him good numbers at both batting average and stolen bases, making him a viable player to use at shortstop. Third base, Brandon Drury, both with the Reds and the Padres this season. 28 homers, had never had more than 16 in a year. 87 RBIs, 86 runs scored. His career highs previous to that were 63 RBIs and 59 runs. 3 outfielders. Let's start with Michael Harris. What a season it has been for Harris since he was called up in 111 games for Atlanta. 301 average, 19 homers, 20 stolen bases, 75 runs scored, 64 RBIs. Obvious guy to be on here. Another outfield rookie, Stephen Kwan of the Guardians, batting over 300 at 301. Just 6 homers, but his 19 stolen bases and 88 runs definitely make him fantasy relevant along with the batting average. Third outfielder, had a few options. I'm going to go Brandon Nimmo of the New York Mets. 268 average, at least solid. 14 homers. What really gets him on is the 100 runs that he has scored on the year. Starting pitchers, we got 5 of them. Let's start with another Atlanta Braves, Spencer Strider. Started the year in the bullpen, but did start 20 games for him in 131 2/3 innings, went 11-5, 2.67 ERA, 202 strikeouts, and slightly under a 1 WHIP. Next, we have Nestor Cortez of the Yankees. Pitched well in his 14 starts last season, but fantasy owners did not expect more of the same. Instead, he's pitched up much better this year. 2.44 ERA in 28 starts, 163 Ks, 158 in third innings, 0.92 WHIP. Kyle Wright, the only 20-game winner in the majors, has 21 wins, 3.19 ERA. Nearly a strikeout an inning and a 1.16 WHIP. Tyler Anderson of the Los Angeles Dodgers, in each of the last 5 seasons before this one, had an ERA of 4.37 or higher. This season, 15-4, 2.54 ERA in 173 and 2/3 innings and slightly under a 1 WHIP. And Martin Perez of the Texas Rangers, 12-7 with a 2.93 ERA. Hadn't had an ERA under 4 since the 2013 season, so an impressive year for Perez. And let's end with a reliever. We got Daniel Bard of the Colorado Rockies. Spent the year as the closer. Ended up with has 32 saves on the year. A microscopic 1.88 ERA. Even won 6 games over a strikeout an inning. Slightly under a 1 WHIP. This is a guy who didn't pitch in the majors from 2014 to 2019. Absolutely incredible that he was able to do this when he just turned 37 on June 25th. So there you have it. The MLB 2022 mostly went undrafted fantasy baseball team. Some honorable mentions at catcher, William Contreras. First base, Luis Arraez, Rowdy Tellez. Second base, John Birdie. Shortstop, Jorge Mateo. Third base, Yandy Diaz. Outfielders, Taylor Ward, Jock Peterson, and Jake McCarthy. Starting pitchers, Merrill Kelly and Miles Mikolas. And relief pitchers, Jorge Lopez, Felix Bautista. So again, only 5 of the 14 were the same as the mid-season one I've done. Were any of these guys players that you picked up during the course of the fantasy season? Is there someone I didn't name that helped guide you to an excellent 2022 fantasy baseball season? Let me know in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe. Tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend to subscribe. Like the video, share the video, hit the bell for notifications. I'm out.